Yeah, you heard that bullshit correct. Emo rap is responsible for the opioid epidemic and apparently has been for the last, I don't know, few decades. Giving a little bit of context here, if you don't know about the artist Lil Peep, passed away sometime last year due to a fentanyl overdose, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. There'll be something here editing me to correct me if I'm wrong when I'm wrong. But we about to go off because this shit's getting on my nerves. The United States justice system has found yet another way to take the blame off of themselves and decide to put it on the entertainment of the people for some odd reason. Now, the death of the rapper Lil Peep has kind of sparked this discussion over whether or not emo rap is the cause for the increase in the opioid addiction. A kid that wasn't even, what, barely 22, I think 21 or 22 years old. This is the fucking ringleader for the opioid addiction. He was the one that was doing it. Let's get specific on you. This investigation led us into an underbelly of emo rap and its glorification of opioid use. This is coming from a special DEA agent. Yeah, real fucking special. James J. Hunt. So we're going to be making this video in response to James J. Hunt. First of all, let's get to the core of the issue here, which is glorification, right? Popularity, promotion, all those good words in order to describe emo rap or any type of rap, because they do the same thing when it came to gangster rap back in the 90s, saying it's making people go crazy, it's making these people be more aggressive. It has nothing to do with their circumstances. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're marginalized and they're a group that's been oppressed and they're a group that is constantly beaten and battered just for fucking existing. Yeah, it was completely video games' fault for that recent situation that happened in Florida. It was totally the video games that guy was playing. It had nothing to do with him just being a fucking psychopath. All those school shootings in the early 2000s, yeah, blame it on Eminem and blame it on Manson. Those are the reasons. Shit, let's throw the more recent, more popular thing to talk about out there. Let's talk about rape. Let's be honest here. These women walking around, they asking for it. Anything to avoid the actual issue, anything to avoid working on a solution to a very apparent problem. Now, while the last one I mentioned is very dark and it's an epidemic that's going around right now and has been for a long time too, the ones that I mentioned earlier are the ones that are more profitable, which is why I feel less is being done about them. So let's go back to the opioids and why the judicial system has this strange, insatiable desire to blame rap or hip hop for mass events. Emo rap, which include guys like, I'm sure at some moments people would say Trippie Redd. At some moments, I'm sure people would say Lil Uzi. I'm sure at some moments people would say XXXTentacion. I'm defending a genre of music or a subgenre of music that I really don't even hold to that high of a standard anyway, but hearing the people blame it is so fucking ridiculous. They're acting like emo music is the fucking gateway to get into opioids. Like, if as soon as you enter this subgenre, opioids are right on the other side.
If you tried drugs because you listened to a Lil Peep song, chances are you're easily impressionable and we're open to doing something like that regardless of whether or not you heard Lil Peep in the first place.
It's not like addiction to prescription drugs have been around for literal decades, and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and Black Sabbath weren't making music referencing drugs all that time either. Or how even more modern acts like Casey Musgraves discusses how LSD sparked her creative material for her album Golden Hour that came out earlier this year. Oh, you thought it was just about clouds and sunshine? No, that bitch was high. My point in even referencing those artists and those genres are to say that these aren't problems that are indigenous to rap music or any kind of hip hop. These are things that are talked about all across the board of music. It's not like they wanted to put something factual in there, like rap and hip hop to some degree has influenced more people or sparked more popularity and discussion around the topic of lean or Xanax. Let's not be factual. Let's just blame some shit that's been happening for literal decades on a new subgenre. What the fuck? Okay, it's not that new, but still. It just seriously annoys me how every time there's a situation that a group or a whole branch or an entire field should be taking responsibility for, they find a way to pass it off to another group that literally has nothing to fucking do with it. Now let's have a quick talk about depression, right? How about let's not? These people, I know why emo rap is popular, or why certain subgenres of rap music is popular, because people feel like they can identify with the struggle of the artist. But generally speaking, I think their obsession goes about as far as the artist. To say that every person who listens to an XXXTentacion song is gonna cut their wrist afterwards, to say that every person that listens to a Lil Peep song is going to take a bunch of pills and overdose, I just think you just have such a narrow-minded view of how people consume entertainment or music or any kind of material or art. To say someone is subject to suicide because they enjoy Kurt Cobain, really? No. How about you blame the fucking medical field for easily prescribing drugs to patients that may not even need the fucking drug that they're prescribing? How in a lot of cases, a lot of these patients might not even like the drugs that they're taking, and instead of taking the drugs, they'll sell them to the streets, get the money, and guess what they'll buy? Fucking weed. Because for a lot of people, whatever ailments that they're going through, weed tends to help more than the opioids that they're being prescribed. So once we get to that point and the drugs are on the streets, who do you think is giving them out? The people that are selling the drugs for profit, aka drug dealers. They get them from the medical field. Drug dealers aren't making it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not manufacturing it. This isn't the 1980s during the crack epidemic, right? Even then, drug dealers weren't making cocaine. It was being flown in here. Guess by who? The U.S. It was only after a couple creative minds. That's really fucked up. It's only after a few creative minds decided, hey, let's make this into a different type of material, or let's see if we can shape shift the coke so it doesn't have to be in powder format and we can make a bigger profit. That's how crack came. I don't know, I wasn't there. Then when crack was heavily talked about in rap music, who they decide to blame? Rappers for rapping about their environment, which was the purpose of rap music at the time, saying that these rappers are encouraging drug use. Now here we are, what, almost 40 years later. Can you stop? Almost 40 years later having the exact same discussion, because the people who are at fault aren't actually taking responsibility and using 20-year-old kids as the fall guy. People who don't understand their emotions well enough that they have to make music in a totally different subgenre of hip-hop because they don't know how to deal with and handle their emotions. Yeah, these are the fucking masterminds behind the opioid addiction. Get them. Get them. Put them in cuffs. And if I'm paying for insurance and I'm not being given the thing that I feel like I should be given, and you're giving me something totally different than what I ask for, or I am aware of the fact that everything that you're giving me is killing me, then I'd sell it. And then what would I do with it? I'd sell my prescription, I'd go get high off natural shit. But the reason for the opioid crisis isn't because of rappers. The reason for the opioid crisis is because prescriptions are so easy to get. The medical field has made access to these drugs so easy now. I have insurance, great insurance. I could go in, say, yo, I'm having a migraine, give me some Norco, not take the Norco because I want weed, go sell the drugs, the Norco, to my dealer and say, hey, give me the money, go to a dispensary and get my weed. And that's it.
Or even better, I make a trade with my dealer, and because I know what I have is worth more in the street than the weed that he sells, I could just take his weed and he take my drugs, and then we're good to go.
And you know what's really fucked up about it? Half the doctors know that you're not even taking it, and they're still giving it to you. I won't say half. I'll say it probably at least 20% of the doctors that have patients that aren't taking the prescription are selling it back out to the street and making a profit so they can go get weed. At least 20% of them know. And then if you don't have people that are aware enough to know that these aren't great drugs to be taking, you have the people out there that have insurance that are taking them and that do get addicted because the doctor prescribed them. I mean, I don't even like what Kanye West has been saying recently, but look at his blow up on TMZ talking about his opioid addiction. No one was talking about that, but that's a big problem. And you know what's even funnier? It's gotten so bad that the Senate has had to pass an opioid package to help prevent opioid addiction. So now we have a drug fighting a drug, and you still think that emo rap is the reason. Ha! The point of this video, honestly, is to stop putting so much pressure and responsibility on groups and people that have nothing to do with the problem at hand, and for the people who do to take responsibility for it. And you want to know why they keep calling it a crisis? Because they can do something about it. They're just not. Because they're, guess what? There's moolah to be made. There's tons of money to still be made off of these things. And rather than say, hey, let's rethink our approach to how we distribute this thing, we're just gonna give it away carelessly to anybody willing to take it or accept it. And yeah, there's not gonna be any backlash or anything, because out of all the 7 billion plus lives on the planet, and the 350 million that are in the US specifically, a little over that actually, ain't no way somebody gonna get addicted. What's that? What's addiction? No? Has this been on my shirt this whole time and nobody told me? Thanks. I appreciate it. Not really. You suck. Tune in next time when I go at the Board of Education for blaming mumble rap for why kids use slang. That didn't actually happen, but at this point I expect anything. It's pretentious, see? And I'm out. He kicked the shit out of her camera. Did you see that video? No, look. He kicked the shit out of her camera. That was you know what? That was actually messed up. Because that's assault. He should be put in jail. Liberals. I tell you, man. I tell you. That was rude. I should be giving you a proper outro because that was disrespectful. Thank you all for watching. It's been Shawn C. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, be with me in my outrage because it's a momentary thing, and I'm not probably gonna be, by the time I edit this video, all the anger is gonna be done. So just take this for what it is. Emo rap is not why there's an opioid crisis currently. Back in the day, there's no correlation. Just stop it. I mean, until Lil Xan starts handing out packages of heroin at his concerts, I'm gonna just go ahead and say emo rap ain't the reason, bro.